Ex-Muslims call out Facebook. New hate speech policy or blasphemy law? So I would never miss an opportunity to highlight the work of Ex-Muslims of North America, and I really wanted to share this with you guys. In a press release posted on the Ex-Muslims of North America's website, the organization's director, Sarah Hayter, responded to a letter from the Director of Content Policy Stakeholder Engagement for Facebook, who is Peter Stern. In her response, Hayter explained how and why Facebook's new content policy is facilitating harm for marginalized groups such as atheists and other non-religious communities. Hayter stated that instead of putting forward plans to reconsider and review the new content policies, Facebook has instead doubled down on their implementation. Facebook's new content policy on hate speech explicitly states not to post, quote, content attacking concepts, institutions, ideas, practices, or beliefs associated with protected characteristics. This new policy is fundamentally against the well-known tenet of mindful criticism, i.e., human beings have rights, ideas do not.
This is so great. Okay, so first of all, people have to understand that ex-Muslims of North America, they are like taking a lead in so many, like they are at the front lines at fighting the normalization of censoring speech on Facebook and other places, right? Like nobody is so on the ball with, you know, this, because if you look at the other people who are doing this, they completely miss the point. They're using this language as if like making it about oppressing right-leaning people or Republicans or something. They're missing the point, and because of the bad arguments they make or because of the ridiculous nature of the requests that they have, it's just they're so easily dismissed and they're so easily ridiculed, and you know, they're not a good image for actually trying to fight against the amount of censorship that is on social media, right? It's not a good image, and they make horrible argument and they look ridiculous and they're horrible for our cause, right? When it comes to an organization that you could actually support that is making sense and they have good criticism, and don't make those of us who want less censorship not look bad. If you want to support an organization that actually is fighting the fight in a more sane way than these right-leaning loons, then support Ex-Muslims of North America. This is the organization, and I don't know how, but they keep finding like people that really matter. Like they have connections and they are becoming more and more influential, and I love it because they are, without asking for it, these people are like fighting for us, right? Like they're coming and finding cases. Like so many times, like we try to like so many different pages or YouTube channels and Twitter accounts that get removed for no good, for blasphemy, right? Without violating any of like rules on Facebook and Twitter or YouTube. You know, you have to like seem to beg people to pay attention to this, and then nobody does. But Ex-Muslims of North America, they come reach to you. It's amazing. They're like, what happened? Tell us. We need to make a case against Twitter, against Facebook, or against YouTube. Like they are taking an active approach, like instead of like just waiting for people to ask. I don't know how they find the resources to do this, but they need more resources to do this even more. Okay, so go donate to Ex-Muslims of North America. You know, I'm really grateful for this. I do want to address the people who might think like I'm being a hypocrite on this when it comes to me saying like private company and free speech and all. I do want to address that, but you seem to want to say something before I get to that.
I was just going to dive into the actual new policy in more detail, but you go first.
All right. So I have been very clear, like a lot of times when we complain about like me and Susie lost our Twitter accounts, right? And there's nothing on Twitter that we on Twitter's community guidelines that we violated. Absolutely not. Like, I thought I might be biased, so I've asked other people to be objective, look at this, and anybody that has looked at this, even people who are pro censorship, they were like looking at this, like, yeah, this is not violating any of Twitter's community standards. You've been removed for blasphemy. Okay, we have been getting strikes on our Facebook page, specifically because people are offended. Like, it's not anything, it's not hate speech, it's not anything like that. And YouTube, we're getting strikes. Not only it was not hate speech, if we got strikes on YouTube for videos that were anti-hate speech, protecting minority rights, just because the language we use or the people who we were highlighting seemed like maybe the algorithm picked up that this is hate speech, and the appeals were rejected in seconds. So fast that there is no way that any human actually reviewed our appeals, right? Like, there were videos that we were actually fighting for minority rights against hate speech, got flagged as hate speech, okay? And when we complain about these things, people are like, well, Armin, this is a private company, and you said so, that private companies get to have standards of themselves and nobody gets to force them this and this and that, right? But it's funny that they say that, because I, at least, have never claimed that our free speech has been violated.
Yep.
Okay. I don't know what I know. A lot of our fans then come and tell us that your Atheist Republic's free speech has been violated. We complain about these censorship, about the way that we're being treated, without claiming that our free speech has been violated. Guys, I want you to be able to work as if you have more than one brain cell. Okay. When we say something is bad, we're not saying our rights have been violated. These things are not the same, right? If I say our rights have not been violated, it doesn't mean it was a good decision. Okay? If you still have a hard time understanding this, let me give you an example for the people who are maybe just half a brain cell. Okay? If I go to a restaurant and pay for food, and then the food comes and I taste it and I don't like it, if I complain about that, I'm not claiming that my free speech has been violated. Oh, I'll be right back.
What?
Someone's at my door, that's why.
Okay. In that case, I will go into this content policy in a little bit more detail. So when explaining it just at the top of the news, I gave kind of a more summarized version. Now I want to actually give you the content policy in full so we can be more clear and transparent about it. Do you want to continue or should I continue?
No, let me finish this stuff.
Okay.
Sorry, somebody had to, I got mail. So, what was the example I was giving for the people that have half a brain cell? So I'm opening my mail while I'm explaining this. I was saying, like, you could complain about a company's behavior because, let me do a Venn diagram for you, okay? Violating my rights, every other behavior that is bad, okay? You see this? This is a smaller circle, is violating my rights. This circle of violating my rights is within a circle of everything else that could be wrong that is not violating my rights, okay? It's possible for an action to be in this bigger circle without it being in the smaller circle. Do you understand how Venn diagrams work, okay? So if I go to a restaurant, like, this restaurant is supposed to give me food. I was expecting a food that I could enjoy today. Okay, and I bring me food and I taste it. I like this tastes like crap. I'm gonna complain about this. I'm gonna leave you a bad review. Imagine how ridiculous it is if somebody comes and says, "Well, your right wasn't violated. You don't have a right to good food. It's not in the Constitution of the United States that says that you are to have a delicious food every time you go to a restaurant. That is not a right within your Constitution." Like, I didn't say it was. I'm not saying my rights were violated. I just don't like what this company is doing or what this private, and I'm complaining about it. I get to complain about things that are not being done right, even if my right was not violated, okay? If you order something on Amazon and it's broken, your rights have not been violated. But you could be like, hey, give me a goddamn refund. Your rights have not been violated, okay? So if I say Facebook, we go on Facebook, and we as a page that has 2 million followers, we're not enjoying our experience because we can't tell what we are supposed to do to stay on this platform, because everything we do, like, it's just random. The strikes that we get is not based on your community standards, and it seems like you're enforcing blasphemy laws. This is not a good way to treat us. Like, if you're like this, YouTube, you're not treating your content creators well. This is not a proper way for you to treat your content creators. If you say Twitter, you're letting ethno-nationalists enforce their bigotry on your platform. They're removing us because they don't like us, and you're giving in to them. This is not cool. If we say that, we're not saying our rights have been violated. We're just saying this is horrible. We're just saying this is a bad experience for us. Fix this. This is a broken, this thing is broken. We're like, fix this. Again, we're not saying our rights have been violated. That's one argument. Another point I want to make is our rights have not been violated. However, some people are arguing that maybe we should have rights that this would be a violation of, right? So as of right now, okay, this is not a violation of our rights. But some people are suggesting, okay, that given how much social media has become the public sphere, okay, so right now free speech laws doesn't protect you from you being removed by Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube on their platform. It doesn't protect you, so your free speech hasn't been violated. But given how free speech laws made sense, given that the whole point of free speech laws is that governments were so powerful that they shouldn't be able to dictate who says what, because the free flow of information that is required for a free and democratic society will be threatened if something as powerful as the entity that is a government gets to decide who gets to say what. Okay, that was the point of free speech laws. Well, now, given that most conversations are happening on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, maybe that same case could be made for these powerful entities. Okay, so maybe we need something beyond free speech laws that also limits how these companies get to say what we get to say and what we're not to say. So again, that's so discussion, point number one is that even if this is not a violation of our right, this is still censorship in a way that we think is not right. Second, it might make sense for us to introduce laws that, like free speech laws, would make this a violation of our rights. Maybe that's a bad idea. Maybe it is a good idea. I don't know the full consequences of that. However, suggesting that does not mean that right now you think your rights are being violated. You're saying that you wanted to create a situation that maybe if they did this, your rights, you're basically arguing for rights that you do not have. This is basically, these are the rights that we don't have. We don't have the legal right to stay on these people's platform. We don't have that legal right. But some people are saying, like, given how much that this is a public sphere now, maybe it should turn into a right in the future. That's an argument people are making. Sus, you want to say something?
Yeah, so I wanted to actually dive into this new policy at Facebook, because I think it's important to be specific. When I was explaining it at the top of the news, I was a little bit more brief, and now I want to be precise. So it is, quote, creating a community standard that bans, quote, content attacking concepts, institutions, ideas, practices, or beliefs associated with protected characteristics which are likely to contribute to imminent physical harm, intimidation, or discrimination. This, and then to quote from the press release on XMNA's website, quote, this is a departure from the previous policy which rightfully protected individuals but allowed for persecuted groups, such as ex-Muslims, to speak out against the harmful or discriminatory practices of religious institutions. So obviously, as atheists who criticize dogma, this is a huge concern to us. And as someone who is in charge of managing our Facebook page and managing every instance of when we receive incorrect strikes on our page for stuff that isn't actually a violation of TOS. This is very worrying to me because it does have this stipulation where it says, oh, when this content is likely to contribute to imminent physical harm, intimidation, or discrimination. Some people might say, oh, well, that's a little bit of a protective factor. They say that it's supposed to only apply in extreme cases according to Facebook. But based on our experiences and the experiences of many, many other people at Facebook, we are very fearful about when they will actually enact this policy. We do not trust their discretion to know when it is, one of these extreme instances. Like, when I saw this, I was like, oh, so our whole page is like up for grabs, because the stuff that gets flagged on Facebook as a violation is absolutely ridiculous, and there's no recourse, and it's very difficult to find people to talk to address this, to get a human to say, you know what, this isn't actually a violation of our policy. But until then, you're going to be suffering the consequences on your page, with your access, or even very harsh restrictions on your account and your ability to even communicate with people on the platform. So this is obviously a big problem. It affects a lot of people. And as proponents of the idea of criticizing ideas, and very thoroughly, and always remembering that humans have rights, but ideas do not, this attitude of this new content policy flies in the face of that. So I'm very happy to highlight what organizations like XMNA are doing to fight back against these policies, raise awareness within these companies about why this can be harmful to the minorities within the minority, like ex-Muslims, because it's probably the case that, the content policy directors at Facebook aren't aware of the situations like this and what this could mean for severely persecuted minorities like ex-Muslims, as an example. So I'm going to post the press release from XMNA in the live chat right now, and I encourage everyone to go check it out for yourselves and go support XMNA.
Yes, please. Yes, go do that. This is it's on their own website. That's pretty good. Is there a way? Okay, by the way, you don't need to include anything after the.
I know.
The question mark, because the URL gets very big. What was I saying? So what is it? Can you repeat the policy? The new policy, the new community standard, and this is the new Facebook's new community standard as of when? How long has this been?
On July 6th is when his director wrote to Sarah Hayter specifically outlining this new policy, banning attacks against religious institutions.
No, sorry. Okay. My question was, when is this community standard publicly on Facebook as of when?
I actually don't know that off the top of my head.
Okay, but it's recent. It's like this. It's very recent. What was the policy again? We can't. Basically, the new community standard is that we can't just criticize. Can you read that again? That part?
Yeah. It's in effect. I just can't. I don't know exactly when it was issued. So, it is creating community content standard that bans, quote, content attacking concepts, institutions, ideas, practices, or beliefs associated with the protected characteristics, which are likely, this is the key part, which are likely to contribute to imminent physical harm, intimidation, or discrimination.
Yeah, I mean, who's going to decide the likely part? How are they going to decide the likely part? Because, I don't know, we could discretion. We could basically talk about the crimes of the Catholic Church, the way that they, and highlighting the fact that there were some church burnings, right, in Canada, right? Is the the fact that people are bringing attention to the history of the Catholic Church, for example, right? That probably led to the church buildings. Okay, we're not nobody here, or most people who were raising attention about the church burnings, most people were not saying that intending for people to commit a crime like that, right?
Wait,
Just
you mean people
yes,
who were highlighting the residential schools and then the fallout was the burnings,
yeah.
the arson.
You could you could be attacking the Catholic Church without the intention of encouragement for people to go commit those crimes. But the thing is that highlighting what the church did in Canada, if it led to some other people burning down those churches, does that mean that you can't highlight what the Catholic Church is doing on Facebook because it had likely had an effect of it leading into some other people burning down the church? Like, do you see how you could connect everything together like this? I mean, Justin Trudeau, for example, had a video condemning the Catholic Church. Okay, given that highlighting these events led to those church burnings, does that mean like Justin Trudeau's video condemning the Catholic Church is now ban-worthy on Facebook? I don't understand how any of this works. It's just, I mean, and you could basically, it's just come out and say we can ban anybody with no reason, whatever we want. Just say that, because it's a more accurate description of what's happening. Like, we could just remove you and you don't have to explain to you. I mean, the only reason why they don't say that is because it just makes them look worse than they are, than what's happening, right? Because, when I say like, oh, here's on Twitter, when I say like, oh, here's an image of Sexy Callie, it looks great, and and then that tweet gets removed for hate speech, and then we appeal it to Twitter, and Twitter is like, sorry, your appeal was rejected, and like, but there's no connection to this, to any of your community standards. Them not responding to us means that we don't have to make a connection. We could just remove you. Like, hello, is this not clear to you? Like, yes, there's no connection, but we're just willy-nilly. If you're being a headache to us, we can just remove you. But they can't say that, because then that's just horrible. That more apparent that how horrible of an experience it is for activists to be on their platform. They can't be transparent about how difficult it is for us. So they have to act like it's for hate speech. But when you ask for an explanation, there's no accountability. There's zero accountability. There's no transparency, no explanation, nobody to talk to unless you're a giant channel or a major company or organization. And again, this is why we need ex-Muslims of North America, because we can't go and host somebody, hey, at least tell me what's happening. Like, I don't know why you're doing this. Like, at least talk to me, say something. There's like silence. There's nothing. There's nobody to address your issues, right? So this is why Ex-Muslims of North America is like the company that could be like, at least talk to us, right? Like, we want to, this is your house, your rules, but we don't know what your rules are. Like, okay, your rules are nonsensical, but we'll abide by them if we know what they are, because we're just getting strikes willy-nilly. We're losing our accounts just based on nothing. Like, maybe, like, how can we even play? How could you play this game that you don't know the rules of? Anyway, Suze.
Blank Name was asking a good question. He was saying, I can't find it in the chat. Oh, who are the protected groups? So protected groups are like protected classes, or like discrimination on the basis of sex, gender expression, sexuality, religion, national origin, immigration status, ethnicity, stuff like that. Things that are, well, not exactly, but kind of like
everyone is a protected group somewhere.
Yeah, and there's some part of your identity that is a protected group.
Like, this is what people don't understand. People are like, okay, we might not go, like, if you go anti-Catholic, we're not gonna, this is not hateful speech because they're not a protected group. But if you go against, if you speak against Islam, well, Muslims are a protected group, so that would be their way of saying this is hate speech. I'm like, okay, but Catholics are a protected group in Iran and Saudi Arabia
or Pakistan. Yeah, it's relative.
and Muslims are not a protected group in Iran or in Pakistan, depending on the kind of Muslim you are, right? So, I mean, everybody here is a protected group. If I put you in a certain place, like there's not a single person that would not be a protected group based on something. If given their, I mean, last time I checked, Facebook was a global company that is like about speech everywhere. Like this is how American centric all of this is. Like people are like, oh, your guys are being bigots and all. No, you guys are being bigots. You're judging everything based on based on your American centric perspective of who's a protective group and who's not. Like you guys are completely dismissing, like, what happened to like, oh, lived experiences and blah blah blah. What about lived experiences of Christians and ex-Muslims in Islamic countries? Like, are you gonna be like, are you gonna protect hate speech against ex-Muslims? Are you gonna protect the rights of ex-Muslims being able to speak their lived experiences with Islam? Like, is that not a minority that deserves? And again, this is why ex-Muslims of North America is the perfect company to make this argument, because like, okay, you want to protect minority rights? Well, we're ex-Muslims, bitch. Are you going to protect our rights? Are you going to let us tell you about our experiences with Islam while feeling like this is a safe space for us to do so? Like, what about this minority, bitch? Like,
okay.
no, but this is no. I'm trying to not to use the words that makes YouTube, not make this. I want to swear so badly right now, but I'm holding back because YouTube's algorithm will suppress these videos even farther than they already are. But no, but again, guys, this is everything has aligned perfectly. Okay, ex-Muslims of North America, they have the right identity to make this case. Okay. And they also have the right people, sane people that write beautifully and have the right connections. It's like everything the stars have aligned, all right? They have the right connections, they make the best argument, and they have the right identity to fight this fight, okay? So go support them. Link in the description to this campaign or this, that they started. Go check it out, and you can sign it, right? Sign it and share it.
It's not a petition. It's just a
It's
press
not a petition? Okay, then share it then.
Yeah.
Share it. And if you're a journalist or a writer or a YouTuber or something, cover this, please. This really, we need this, okay? This is the right organization to make this case for us. All right.
Yes. And AGA is saying what I'm feeling, which is just I should go ahead and put myself in Facebook jail. I feel like we all feel that way right now. Hey guys, if you're a fan of Blasphemy and Sexy Callie, like me, then you need to be sure to subscribe to our newsletter, link in the description below. Because if you subscribe, we will send you a free copy of our Blasphemous Art ebook. And let me tell you, it is the tastiest blasphemy that you can find anywhere available today. And we are so generous with our blasphemy that we continue to send you more blasphemy every week. So make sure to subscribe. Link in the description below.